It has been a while. We missed a week and now we're back. Ready to Love, episode 8. Here we go. Hey guys, Ready to Love took a week off, but we are back. Episode number 8. That's what friends are for. Let's get it. This is another reality recap. It's your girl, Simpli Stacy, and welcome back to the Simpli Stacy YouTube channel. Okay, guys, so this week we start off in the ladies' lounge. It is called That's What Friends Are For. There are 8 ladies remaining, and basically they're going to be meeting the friends of their top picks. So first up is Zodia. Zodia and Naeem, they've been hitting it off from the very beginning. Guys, I'm going to be honest with y'all. In this season of Ready to Love, in DC, I'm not really feeling any strong couples. Okay, but we got Zodia and Naeem. He brings her a dozen white roses, or her friends or whatever. I'm like, oh, that is so cute. That is so sweet. Her friends are asking okay, why so delayed? You're 40. Why are you still single? I'm like, come on, let's be real. I know a lot of nearly 40-year-olds who are still single, or who have dated or have long-term relationships and are single again, or have been married and are divorced and are single again. So I'm like, okay, y'all line of questioning kinda sucks. But anyway, she got 2 of her friends there with her. Basically, they ask what he's looking for. He says he's looking for someone that is kind and intelligent and fair. He's up here describing Zodia. And basically, he says that he thought that the friends were pretty cool, and he think he did pretty good answering. It was really a little chill session. Next up is Sabrina. Now, Sabrina actually meets with 2 guys. We all know Walter was her day one, but then she hit it off with Sean the week before. So first up, now listen, I don't know what kind of interview panel this girl has set up, but she had 5 of her closest friends. Now listen, I got a lot of friends, a lot of sorority sisters, but I'm just trying to say, if I was introducing somebody to my friends, I don't think it'd be 5 people sitting there. Anyway, 5 people. So, that's already kind of intimidating. And it was a mixture. I think it might have been 4 women and 1 guy. Anyway, it was definitely an interview style. That's how it was set up. I was like, this is not going to go so smooth. But it actually did not go bad. Walter and Sabrina could not stop smiling at one another, while they were in the same space. He says that she's classy, she's well put together, she's very authentic, and that's what he's looking for, because they did ask him what does he see about her, what makes her stand out in the crowd of women that he's been pursuing or that were available for his pursuits. And yeah, basically they liked him. They said he answered everything pretty quickly, no nonsense. They didn't have any qualms about Walter. Fast forward to Sean. Sean comes on, whereas I don't even know why he's even meeting her friends, because we already know that Sean wants kids and Sabrina doesn't want any kids. So that already was a roadblock in their relationship. They just got to know each other, and I think that disclaimer should have been given to the friends prior to Sean's arrival, because he's only been there 1 week. He only went on 2 dates that week, and then now he's meeting the friends. Whereas Walter has been around a long time, so they've probably been communicating outside of here, maybe going on dates that we haven't seen on camera. Because honestly, I don't feel like they've been on any one-on-one dates that we have seen on camera, Walter and Sabrina. But we've seen them on the group settings, the pool party, the mixers and stuff like that. But I'm assuming they're talking outside of just that. Sabrina told her friends prior to his arrival that one red flag that came up was, he said something like, in a few months I don't want to, disappoint you, or, decide that I don't want to do this. She's like, that's a little bit of a red flag. And I'm like, yeah, he probably could have not said it like that. But I guess theoretically, that's what all relationships are. You date until you figure out if they're your person or not, or if you want to make this thing work or not. And it could be within a month that you decide, okay, no, this ain't something I really want to do, or whatever. So I think he was just saying he didn't want to move so fast. So when he comes, they ask him what he likes about Sabrina again, what makes her stand out. He says she's career-oriented, she's stylish, she's sophisticated, and she's maternal. So they're like, okay. He was like, I don't know if I should say this, but like the little Claire Huxtable vibe. And so friends, like when I say straight face, no smiling, they didn't like his joke. It was just very, yeah, they weren't very welcoming. While they liked Walter, they was not feeling Sean. I think they asked him, like, would you be able to support her daughter? Are you ready for that in your career? Because, he's an actor / author, whatever it is he does. And they was like, well, I feel like you are, you like feeding us lines. Like, I don't feel like you really are. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is not going well. They asked him about that comment he said where he was going to hurt her he didn't want to hurt her in a couple of weeks or months or something like that. And they think, oh, it sounds like you're running game and all this stuff. Like, they were not feeling him. He could not catch a break. Sabrina tried to chime in, and it was after he had already taken a real brutal beating. And even she was saying to the confessional, like, oh my gosh, Sean, this is horrible. Like, this is not good. But she's saying to the confessional, not friends. Eventually, she did say something to her friends and basically was just like, he hasn't resolved if he wanted kids yet. We just kind of met. He hasn't been here the whole time. And I'm like, you should have started with that because they're questioning him like, y'all been on 50 dates and y'all the only two talking to each other. So, yeah, he was just saying he did not like how that situation with her friends, and he still don't know if he even want kids, so he don't even know if he wanted to be in that scenario with her and her friends. It just really was not a good little look. Okay, next up is Cornelius and Camille. Again, another 5 friends. Cornelius joins, I think it's one guy again, 4 girls. And basically she tells them before he gets there that she's had this crush on him. They like, who this time? Like, her friends would give her no breaks. She was like, whatever, he's the one. And they was like, okay, well, she don't usually introduce us to people. But, she's a runaway bride. She's been engaged, I think, 3 times and never actually got married. She does bring up that, he's celibate. And they were like, oh, that's okay with you? She was like, yeah. They like, since when? I'm like, girl, because how Courtney was all, I got to test this out before marriage and all this stuff. This was the first time Camille was actually honest. And she said that she would like to test before marriage. But she told her friends that she never told Cornelius or said it in front of the other people. So I'm like, this whole time, I remember thinking y'all was both celibate or that was what you was doing too. But apparently, according to your friends, it's not. But at least she's not still like throwing herself at him like Courtney was doing, because that did not work for Courtney. And so I guess she's playing it right. Anyway, he walks in. They basically ask, like, hey, you in love with her? He like, hold up, like, we just got started. Like, we just met like probably 3-4 weeks ago. It's not like that yet. He asks, what is it that they can tell him about her? And they told him that she has commitment issues, which I'm sure he could have gathered from her being engaged 3 times. He did say it's a bit of a red flag, something for him to look out for, because she did have so many engagements. Yeah, they asked him about where he sees himself in 5 years. He said, personally, he thinks he'll be married in 5 years. And they think that he's nice, but they think he's a little bit too nice for Camille, and she'll probably get bored with him fast. She says he the one. If it ain't him, it ain't nobody. So, okay, girl. She apparently falls fast, too, because remember, she was claiming that man from day one. Next up is Sydney. Sydney is the other new person that came on the show a couple weeks ago. And we didn't even see her the first week after they got there. And then now she's here, and she's actually with Frank. Now, we remember that Frank and her had some kind of a mutual friend group where they had been in the same circles from the nightlife prior to her even coming on the show. So she knew of Frank or knew him. And so they were just going to try to, basically that's who she gravitated toward. He liked her too. And so that's who they decided to link up with. That's whose friends he met. And she had 2 friends with her. She basically said that she thinks he's always had a crush on her when they were outside of the show. They asked him about his last relationship. He said it was 3 years ago. They was like, well, what broke it up? He was like, basically, they were just different places in their lives, which I think that's honest. They asked him about his toxic trait, and he definitely said doing too much. Sometimes he does too much for people and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, that's such a good interview question when they ask you something negative about you, because it ain't negative or whatever. And that's what Sydney was saying, like, oh, it's not negative. Basically, they looked cute together. He kissed her when they left. She kissed him. She really likes him. The friends seemed to think he was like Mr. Beauty Pageant, like he was too rehearsed, but you know, they don't have anything wrong with him, but all his answers were like kind of perfect. So they like a little bit skeptical of that. Next up is Muma and her one friend. She only has one friend. She also has two people that are going to meet her friend. First up is Dante and him talking about his children and his different moms. And I'm like, Dante, when you meet the friends, you can leave that part out, even though Moomin knows it. You don't need to be telling other people that. Moomin did say that, you know, everybody wants him. And so the friend was like, oh, well, if everybody wants you, then what's the possibility of you and Moomin? He's like, well, I'm here. And I wouldn't be here if she wasn't high on my list or whatever. So that was basically it until Walter shows up. So I'm like, oh, okay, they don't even leave and come and go, because that's how it was with Sean and Sabrina. And with Walter and Sabrina, they never crossed each other's paths. Now, Dante is still there with Moomin and her one friend. And then Walter shows up and he's looking crazy like, I didn't know Dante was going to be here. Dante's also looking crazy like, I didn't know Walter was going to be here. And I was like, I don't know what they were trying to do with this, but that wasn't a move. So Walter is already a little bit reserved because, yeah, he don't want to be there with Dante and just make him feel away. Even though he knew she probably had other connections, he didn't want to be there in the same scenario. So under the table, like, Dante is like reassuring Moomin and rubbing her hands and all this stuff while Walter's sitting across from them. It's just weird. But she said that she liked that he did that and it made her calm because it is kind of one of those stressful type situations. Dante actually gets up to leave and then Walter does have his time alone. But there was a portion of time when they were both there and it was extremely awkward, let's be honest. The friend asks Walter too, like, well, what's your chance of being with her? Like, I know that there are other women here. And he was like, I mean, there was just another guy here. Like, are we really doing that? Like, you really gonna ask me that and expect me to say, oh yeah, I'm gonna definitely be with her? Like, we're still both apparently deciding. Okay, her friend basically says she likes both of them, and that's that. Next is Phil and Aisha. Remember, Phil helped her after her accident. They had the whole one-on-one date where she told him why she really tells people that she doesn't want children because she's had some difficulties in the past conceiving and holding her children to term. And so they meet her three friends. Now, Phil is the one guy who went on more than 2 dates. He actually went on a total of 3 dates. So apparently he got 3 people that he is feeling right now at the moment. And the first one was Aisha. So he basically says that she says that he's always made her smile. And he likes that she cooks. They asked him if he was ready to be a stepfather or could he see himself in that role. He said definitely, you know, she has the 2 children. But I know he wants children too, so I don't know if this connection is actually going to be a thing. But she said she didn't want kids, but when she was explaining it to him, it was more like she didn't know if she could have him. So maybe they've talked about like alternatives or something like that, surrogacy, adopting, or him just being a stepfather. I don't know what actually he wants. He hasn't expressed it like Sean did previously. Okay, he says that she is one of his strongest connections because they did ask. There's a lot of loving PDA between the 2 of them. The friend's basically like, you better not mess up. And, you know, they asked him what he brought to the table and all this stuff. He did well. You could tell he gets along with friends. So next up, he also goes out with Tasia. So Tasia and him, we've never seen them for real on a date, but they did have a little chat at one of their pool parties or mixers or something like that. And she said that she really liked him. She has her 2 entrepreneur friends. So here we go again. Remember when she went out with Frank and all she was talking about is her being an entrepreneur and quitting her corporate job. And all it was like work and influence or whatever. So she brings 2 of her entrepreneur friends. So I'm like, girl, again, here you go. Only talking about work and your business. So I'm like, are these even really your friends at this point? Like, do they know you or they know the business side of you? Anyway, they asked him first about his purpose in life. He like, dang, y'all getting deep real fast. Like, let me get up and leave. He did that little joke with, I think, all three women, actually. But yeah, I'm like, here it goes again. It's not your real friends. Because why they asking about his purpose, his life's purpose? Who has that question? Like, first of all, some people don't even know what their life's purpose is. And then, like, that may not be something he want to share with you, even though he want to share it with her. Like, I don't really feel in their questions. They did ask about kids. He said, yes, he wants some. And here goes Cecilia. How about 3 or more? He's like, 3 or more? Jeez. He's like, you want a whole basketball team? And she was like, yeah, can we please? Basically, they asked him what he liked about her. He says that she's dope and she is up there in his list. I'm like, okay, Phil, you and yo, I'm just finna be politically correct, but tell everybody they up at the top. Well, we all know that Shiloh was his top. Okay, so Shiloh, speaking of which, that is his third date. She has 2 friends with her. Basically, they asked him where he's from. He says that, originally he's from New York. He's very close to his family oriented. And basically, they asked him, do he want to get married? He says yes. He wants kids? Yes. And what is Shiloh his strongest connection? And he was like, yeah, she's up at the top. The same old. He said it's all 3 women. And then they asked him about his red flags when it comes to her. And basically he's like, oh, she's perfect. She doesn't have any or whatever. So he won over all 3 sets of friends for the 3 different women. Next up, they're at the ladies' lounge. We did all the dates this week. Sydney goes to talk first. She said she went on a date with Frank. Her friends thought he was genuine, but a little bit too methodical. Okay, Sabrina talks about Walter, that her friends liked him. He is her number 1. And then Sean, it was not so good. She feels so bad for him. And I'm like, Sean could have just not been on this show at this point. I guess he didn't make any connections, so it is what it is. Next up was Aisha. Okay, she said she went on a date with Phil. She really liked him. Her friends liked him. He charmed her friends just like he charmed her. Tia said the same thing. Oh, Phil, we had a great day. Shiloh, Phil, here go Tommy. Oh, Phil was a busy man. So Shiloh said that they liked him. He was the way that he was touchy with her, because I guess physical touch is one of her love languages, and they think that it's a good match. They asked, oh, did all you guys know that he was meeting with all these other women and their friends? And I think Aisha said that she did know it. Like, they talk about that. But Tia said she did not know it. I don't know what Shiloh said, but I guess it really didn't matter. So when they was talking about, did y'all know? And Aisha was like, yeah, I basically let them stretch as much as they're going to stretch, and either they come back or they don't. So I did know he was going out with all these other people, right? Then Tommy goes into, who are you not feeling? Tia says Sean. Okay, no brainer. Zodia actually says Frank. Sydney, Shiloh, Sabrina, and Aisha all said Cornelius, because it seems like he's only there for Camille and they haven't gotten to know him. Tia says word on the street is that Cornelius isn't as sure as Camille is. Now, she says this to the confessional, and I think we've kind of heard that, like, Camille has been sure from day one, and although he had Courtney and Camille, he does keep saying stuff like, it's kind of a red flag, or, I just want to be sure. So, hey, that's word on the street, so maybe he's talking to somebody else, or I don't know. Next up, Zodia and Aisha, they go on and on about this list. So, I think Tia says something about, well, people need to start shrinking. And Zodia was like, well, I don't have a list. I have 2 people. I have Dante and I have Naeem. And the crazy part about that is because I think Dante's the only one with somebody else Moomin's interest. But, like, nobody else is really checking for Naeem. So, I don't even know why this was even a conversation. And so, basically, Aisha was like, yeah, people do need to start, like, making their choices and stop with all these lists. And she was like, I don't have a list. I have 2 people. And I'm going to decide on what's best for me when I get to that point. And Aisha, while she was talking about she letting Phil stretch, now she talking about shrinking. And then Tia, and it was like going back and forth, a little bit of cattiness. I was like, what is going on, ladies? Like, do y'all even like the same people? Because what I'm hearing, it don't sound like it other than Phil. And it wasn't even those women that were saying things. So I'm like, okay. Sydney says, well, I'm new here, so they are all getting to know me. Like, she was trying to make it better. Like, well, they are going to get to know me because I am new. And ain't nobody even checking for you, girl, because it's Frank. You the only one, that's the only one talking to them. So the people they talking to ain't even talking to you. So Zodia gets with her, honey. And Sydney was like, well, I'm sorry. I was just trying. I'm like, ladies, cut it out. Anyway, that was a little bit of cattiness. I don't know what's going on. It's getting to the end of the wire, but I don't see it with anybody. I don't see no love connections. However they have been producing this or showing these dates, I ain't seen nobody that I'm just like, oh my God, I'm shipping them. They so in love. So I'm almost just ready for the season to be over at this point. I think they're halfway through. But we'll see what happens from this point forward. Anyway, there are eliminations. There are two in the bottom. There is Cornelius and there is Sean. Now, the one thing we know is that Camille likes Cornelius. So Zodia takes Cornelius out, and she basically he says that she's friends with Camille. So he, this is kind of going to be a little bit awkward, but he did like her to begin with, but he doesn't want to do anything that would get him in trouble with Camille. Basically, that's what he said. So it's going to be a little awkward. He says he feel like he's doing good. She asked him how he was doing in the competition. And he said he keeps it open and he's making connections. She's like, but are you really? Because you're not. Maybe I did close it off a little bit too soon. And then she definitely tells him that he is not ready to go home quite yet. So Cornelius is sticking around, which I already knew because he does have somebody in it that put him in the top. That's almost like Camille last week where Cornelius put her at the top. So although everybody else put her in the bottom, she still had that top spot. Whereas Courtney, who went home, had nobody for top and she was in people's bottom. Same thing with this next guy, Sean. So they talked to him. He's going out with Tasia. Remember, they actually had a date. She said he never reached back out to her. And it was crazy because he said he did like her, but he never called her because I think he was just focused on Sabrina. And then that didn't work. That was a bust. He asked how she was doing. He was telling her how bad the date was with her friends. And that he did really like her. And she was like, well, okay, we've been trying to give you a chance, but you didn't call or nothing. I'm sitting here looking good in front of you and all this stuff. He was like, yeah. I move kind of slow and all this stuff. Bottom line, they not ready to love. So that's it. Next week, we're going to meet their exes. So I think that should be entertaining, especially one of Camille's exes. I wonder if it's one of the engaged fellas, but we will see. Or if it's Cornelius and his exes, I want to see how jealous Camille gonna be. Guys, that is it. This week was just, it was just kind of okay for me. This season is just kind of okay for me. Let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. Hey, subscribe to my channel. Please like, share, and comment. Let me know what y'all thoughts are down below. And as you can see, I have some Simply Stacy merch right here. Check out the Simply Stacy store at stacyhuddleston.com/shop for all of your gifting needs. We have journals, we have sweatshirts, we have joggers, mugs, all kinds of things. Christmas is right around the corner. It is December. And if you are looking for gifts, you always can give your friends that are all about enlightenment and self-improvement and financial freedom and all that stuff. My book, Secure Success, A Proven Plan to Prospering Personally and Professionally. It is available in hardcover. It is available in paperback and also an ebook on Amazon.com and also Barnes & Noble online as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Do not forget to catch my Vlogmas. It started on December the 1st. I will have a new video up the 1st through the 25th of December. Every day, new holiday content on the Simply Vlogmas. We are on day 2 because it's actually December the 2nd. So guys, definitely check that out. Share it. Share the content. Hopefully it'll bring you some joy, give you some creative ideas. And yeah, it will just be a good time to be had by all. Until next time, see ya.